has good relationships, the best relationships in the recruiting world. We bring him on to talk about recruiting. This is going to be an enormous recruiting weekend in Tuscaloosa. It always is around this football game, around LSU and Alabama. It does not have the cachet down here in Baton Rouge like it has had over the last couple of years. But Alabama is definitely looking to cash in this weekend, literally. Shea D joins us here on this Jordy Culotta Show on this Tuesday morning. Good morning, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing fine. How are you guys?
Doing okay. This recruiting instance scenario that LSU is in, I say that the 30 for 30 on Orgeron the last couple of years are going to be fantastic, but none more exhilarating, I think, than this time in Feed the Dogs, bro.
Trying to quiet them.
Is how this pitch is being sold, how it's being taken by recruits. Have you talking to any of these guys, and have you spoke to any of these guys, and what are these conversations like between Orgeron, his staff, and some of this class?
Well, I mean, they're trying to go about it, not business as usual, but with the approach of, and then this is coming from, we've heard and Orgeron say it, but the kids have said it is, and talked to some parents who said the same, is their pitch from Orgeron, the pitch from the position coach that they talk to is, hey, sit tight. For position coaches, a handful of them, can be debated as to whether or not they'll be on the next staff. Will they be retained? So, some of these coaches are probably saying, hey, look, hang tight. Let's see what the future holds for me. But the bottom line is, and this is the pitch, two parents told me this coming from all the way up to Orgeron to their position coach was, I always told you to come to LSU. I wasn't lying to you. I think it's the best fit for you. I mean, and think about this, Jordy. They've got 15 commits. More than half of them, 10 of them, are from Louisiana. So they're telling these parents, look, this is always going to be the spot for you. It doesn't matter if we're the head coach and the staff, or we're going to hand off the baton and it'll be the next guys. But LSU is still the fit for you. And I think that's probably one of the only pitches you can still use, right? I mean, there's not much else that you can say other than hold tight, wait for the new staff, and now we're probably about a month out from knowing who the new head coach will be, and then take it from there. And I think Orgeron has said it well before, though, of why would I say anything different? If the pitch has always been come to LSU, it's the best place for you, commit to a program, not a coach, it's not going to change right now. And we haven't seen any sort of mass defections. We haven't seen any new commitments, obviously, since the summer, but that's not expected, and certainly not now in the middle of a coaching search and everything like that. So I think my suggestion to everyone has been sort of hold on tight, right? Not to recruits, to fans and to any radio I do. I'd say, look, the next month is going to be rocky. You're going to have a decommitment or two. You're going to have Walker Howard visiting places. All these things are just come with the territory of what you're going through, which is an in-season coaching change where the news of the termination became public midway through October. So, yes, Alabama is going to be trying to get all your kids on campus. Yes, A&M and Georgia are going to try to be all over the kids that you've got in the class. But I think that you've got to, as an LSU fan, right, and even if you're Scott Woodward, hope that whatever your plan is and the long-term outcome and solution here is going to outweigh whatever negative kind of road bumps you hit here, whether it's kids decommitting or not finishing with the bang or whatever it might be. You'll take it if you can, over the long term, kind of right the ship.
How is the, hey, hang tight recruiting pitch being taken by the families and the recruits, though? So, I mean, you can say that, and that's the thing, but how are they responding to that pitch, I guess?
Right. I mean, I think, and Mikey, I think you're probably, here's like a good example. You would get this. A lot of these kids are from Louisiana. I mean, you look at Walker Howard. He's from Lafayette.
Right.
Lafayette's been so good to LSU over the years, even when they were at the lowest of the Miles era, when, winning 7 games on the field or whatever, and Bama was in the state plucking, a kid or two every cycle. They weren't from the Acadiana area. So guys like that just want to go to LSU. But, for instance, let's look at a guy like Walker Howard. You're the quarterback. Well, if a new head coach comes in and says, oh, I've got a quarterback on my team right now, he's going to transfer in, or I've already got a quarterback committed in my class, I like him, he's the guy, he's going to come in. Well, only one quarterback plays. So then Walker Howard's in a spot where he says, well, man, now the OC already has his new quarterback that he's either been working with on campus or he's brought him in, and I need to just kind of think of a backup plan. And instead of doing that in December when he's about to sign, he's doing it now. So he went up to Notre Dame. There was buzz about maybe an Ole Miss visit this weekend. I think he's got homecoming at STM, so he'll do that. But I think the parents are understanding, hey, it is one of these situations where we'll wait around, we'll see. We won't decommit and flip to somebody else right now. But at the same time, we've got to see what our backup plans are just in case things don't work out.
Right, and I don't blame them. I mean, that's what, if I was in their positions, that's exactly what I would do. I just didn't know. And I think you made a really good point. Out of the 15 commits, 10 of them are from Louisiana. I think that helps out a lot. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting situation.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of these kids, especially if they're from Louisiana, they committed to LSU for a reason. They want to go to LSU. They've grown up looking at LSU as sort of the goal and the destination, and it's just a bit rocky right now for them to think, okay, man, I'm committed there and I've got to sign. And this is the other thing. All these kids signed in mid-December, so they can wait until February if they want to, but some of them are early enrollees. They want to be on campus in January, so they're sort of just doing like the rest of us, except they're the ones who are actually having to go through it of, all right, I'll wait one more month, and then I'll know who the new coach is. Then I'll hopefully know who my position coach is, and then I'll feel good about in mid-December just going ahead and signing, because a lot of them will say, look, I did commit to LSU for the program, but I'm not going to just sign on the dotted line and have no idea who's coaching me. So it's kind of just a waiting game for everyone. And like you said, you could totally understand whether it's Walker or anyone else saying, I'm going to just try to figure out. And look, half the time it's their parents, and I'm not saying specifically with Jamie Walker, but their parents who are saying, look, I'm a bit older and wiser than you. You're going to look around at a couple spots, see what else is out there. Then that way, if something does go wrong, you're not sitting here in my living room panicking saying, Mom, I don't know where I'm going to college. Like, go ahead and look around, see how you feel, and then we'll see what's going on with LSU come end of November.
Obviously, the topic du jour is that LSU is continuing to look for a head coach. That's going to be the only thing that people talk about hopefully throughout the season, because the football doesn't seem to be very good. But when you look for that question, it goes, all right, we defer to Scott Woodward. When you talk about recruiting, LSU doesn't have anywhere other the point than to Scott Woodward again. How much is on his plate? And at some point, does it get to be too much that Scott Woodward's having to handle instead of just being able to focus on grabbing a coach? Like, it seems like he's trying to wear so many hats at this point that at some point your plate's just too full.
I think with Scott, it's probably the only hat at least he's wearing that he knows he super cares about is his coaching search. And I think all the recruiting stuff for him. And look, this is a guy, Scott Woodward is an AD who sits around the football operations building. He's around every day. He did that at Texas A&M. He did that at Washington. He's done that at LSU. He's invested in recruiting. He understands as much as anyone that it's the lifeblood of the program. But I don't think that he's overly worried right now about where things stand, in the sense of he knows, okay, if I hit this hire out of the park, if it's a home run, recruiting is going to take care of itself. These guys are all going to sign in mid-December. If we have one or two defections, that's not the biggest issue in the world, because we can figure it out on the back end and be fine. So I think, really, to be honest, Lloyd, he's probably just thinking about the hire, which is exactly what he should be doing. And he's got an eye on recruiting, but he's hoping that between the class being made up of a lot of Louisiana guys, that the coaches can kind of just maintain this pitch of, hey, just give us a little more time. Let's see what the new hires look like. That things will be fine in recruiting. Look, I'll give you an example. Even LSU's tight ends coach, Derek Shea, got out on the road last week, and all of them did. And he's got two guys committed, Jake Johnson and Mason Taylor. And both those guys' parents played in the NFL. Mason Taylor's dad is Jason Taylor, a famous defensive end. And obviously Jake Johnson's father is Brad, and Max is his brother. And the pitch to both of them, and the parents understand it, is, look, it's a business. We get it. Y'all hang tight, but also you're in a position where it almost doesn't matter who the coach at LSU is. Y'all are going to play because LSU doesn't have any tight ends. They want to move Jack Besh back to receiver. You got Jack Mashburn, who, amazing story, but 2 years ago he's a high school quarterback. So these guys, there are guys like those two of the 15 commitments who you can't pick a better spot for you right now. So hang tight. You'll be good. The parents understand it, because the parents get it's a business. We understand how it all works. Hell, for Jake Johnson's dad, their son's a starting quarterback on the team. You don't think they're having to juggle more things than one? So I think even if you've got coaches who you aren't sure if they're still going to be around, you've got positions like tight end where the coach can tell them, you need to be signing regardless. Brad Davis can tell Emory Jones and Will Campbell, you need to be signing because you're going to play here probably next year. So a lot of these kids, I think, still are okay with just the reality of hearing from their position coach, hearing from O, and just kind of waiting it out and let Woodward just purely handle the hire.
What did you make of the Aaron Anderson story, the Ed Nakar wide receiver, explosive playmaker, flipping his commitment last weekend from LSU to Bama?
Yeah, well, one thing, I certainly don't believe that Orgeron told him to go to Bama if I'm not the head coach. I'm not buying that one. And in large part because Aaron Anderson was 50-50 on LSU Bama. The whole time he was committed to LSU, like publicly, like, I'm 50-50, even though I'm currently committed. So, I mean, that tells you pretty much half of what you need to know. As soon as there was an opening, kind of a crack of, okay, look, there'll be some coaching shakeup. It was boom, I'm decommitted. Boom, I'm announcing my commitment to Bama at halftime of my game. So I thought that was a bit calculated, I guess, in a way on his end. But, hey, look, it's his big day. I think he wanted to be at Bama. But if there's one position, and look, I think Aaron Anderson's really good. If there's one position where it's not going to sting you, it's receiver. When was the last time LSU's ever worried about not having enough receivers? I mean, right now, Keyshawn Butte goes down. You see Trey Jenkins step up. We're seeing Malik Neighbors, all these great freshmen. I mean, you can go Russell Gage, DJ Chark. There's never a stretch, even when you're down to a couple of guys, that you ain't got NFL receivers on your roster. So that one, I mean, it stings to lose a guy to Alabama, but I don't think overall you're too worried if it's a wide receiver. You know, you don't want all of the wide receivers leaving, but one of them isn't the biggest deal. And I just think that over time we've learned that with how LSU's recruited and what the state of Louisiana gives you. They'll give you 3 NFL receivers a class if you pick them right.
How big of a recruiting weekend is it going to be in Tuscaloosa?
I think I saw some names starting to pop up. A couple of LSU guys Louisiana guys will be up there, Kendrick Law and some others. It should be big now that it's at 6 o'clock. I would bet that they're kind of pressing for even more guys to get in. I think there was some thought that the game could be at 11 or it could be, earlier in the day, which makes it tough for recruits to get up after a long night of Friday nights and then get over there. And we're kind of getting into that stretch, like I mentioned with STM, where a lot of people have homecoming and then you've got your homecoming dance. So I know they kind of want it to be a big weekend. We'll see how it ultimately comes together, but probably by Thursday or Friday, we'll have a good grip on kind of the names that'll be there.
Do you think LSU would have preferred that game to be at 11 o'clock?
I would have.
I would have too.
Actually, yeah, it's just one of those things. Yeah, I think so. I think they'd prefer any of these Bama games be at 11 because you have that week off. Then you sit around all day on Saturday in Birmingham or whatever, just thinking about, like, what time is it? All right, well, God, we still have 8 more hours to suit up. It's one of those wake up, get out there, and let's just play. We haven't ever gotten to see one of those Bama games. So a lot of 2:30s over the years. Now we push it all the way back to 6. It's yes, I think a lot of people are rooting for 11.
You mentioned that the coaches are hitting the trail on the LSU staff. How much weight does their message carry? Because when you talk about having a new coach bring in, you mentioned like might even bring in a transfer quarterback. But when you talk about they're definitely going to bring in some staff. So how much weight does their message carry when you're talking to these recruits when they don't even know if they're going to have a job at the end of the year?
Right. I mean, I think it's just purely one of those things where, hey, look, I get it. And look, there's kids right now, a number of their kids have visited other SEC schools already. So it's one of those things where they're saying, hey, look, if you got to explore your options, I get it. I'm not in control of this situation either. Look, I wish I were still here, and I hope I'm still here after this, but I can't make any promises. But at least, and look, I've talked to enough parents to know that Ed Orgeron's message has been the same as these assistants who do a lot of the groundwork for him is Mickey Joseph, Corey Raymond, they're all telling these kids, just hang tight, and we'll see what happens. You can, if you want to go somewhere else and you aren't feeling it, just wait until you at least see what LSU's got. Because if you're bailing on LSU now, and then all of a sudden they get a new staff in here, do you have a spot still? Are you able to get back in it? And I think a lot of the kids realize, hey, look, I'm just going to kind of sit on this. I really don't expect many more, mass wave of decommitments or anything. I think that we've gotten to a point where we're 2 weeks out from an announcement, but let's not fool ourselves. This is a rhetoric that's been going on for well over a month, right? Of that, hey, man, this really might be the end for Coach O. You think that we hear about it. The kids hear about it all the time. They hear about it from other college coaches. So I think that everyone's sort of settled in now to a spot where they're hearing out the assistants, hey, just ride it out. You've only got a month left. See where things stand. And like I said, for a couple of these assistants may well be on the next staff. So I think these kids are okay with at least getting into late November. And I expect that. The week after the season ends, I expect Scott Woodward to have an announcement made. And I don't know that to be a fact. I just know that's his track record, and that's the lay of the land right now. You've got an early signing period. You've got a team to hold together. You've got the transfer portal. You can't be out there waiting until January to hire a coach. It just doesn't work like that anymore. So, and I think these kids know, hey, if I can make it 4 or 5 more weeks, I'll be good to go.
I can't let you get off the hook without asking you, who are you hearing, or I guess, who do you think is the front runner for the job?
Man, I feel like every week, or actually, that's probably a lie. Every day I can convince myself. Every day I can convince myself it's somebody different, and I think that's probably.
And today, who is that? Who are you convincing that is today?
Who did I wake up convinced? I don't know. I mean, I can still understand.
Wake up next to you.
I can understand the Jimbo stuff, like, because people are getting now into his buyout. No, you can match the money he's making, and it's without a buyout doing this. And Scott Woodward's hired him before, and he's been here before, and he has won a national championship, all these things. And so I can understand that. Like, I understand how people are arguing that. I could say more so that maybe I'm not. I think, like, people push the James Franklin narrative early. I'd be surprised if it were James Franklin. I think that people have been high on Aranda. People have been high on Billy Napier. I love them both. I also wonder if that matches kind of what Scott Woodward's normally gone for in terms of, like, big game hunters. So I would understand why a guy like Jimbo would be pushed his name around a lot. I think that I guess for me, it comes down to this. And look, Friday night we went to Best Dress Ball. That's a lot of
saw you there. I saw you there.
A lot of the big wigs in Baton Rouge. And people are coming up to me, Shea, what do you hear? And I was like, man, I ain't got no money. I don't know anything.
Well, to be here.
What do y'all? I snuck in. What do y'all know? And they're like, man, Scott's zipped it. Nobody knows anything. And that's a great thing, actually. That's a good thing considered however many, 5 years ago, we were in a spot where it was very public. They might as well have held a press conference and said, we're going after Jimbo Fisher and Tom Herman. And the other two schools just did what they had to do and locked them up. And it's not anything to then say that, O didn't work out. Obviously, they won a national championship. But the point being was it was very public. And I think it's probably a good thing this time around that everyone's sort of just out here guessing. Everyone's sort of out here making a case for who they think it should be. While meanwhile, the people even close to Woodward have said, hey, look, I really do believe he and maybe 2 or 3 people really, really know what's going on. And none of them are talking. So it's kind of just left us all guessing and wondering. But I think that the fan base has said, hey, look, I can appreciate that, and I'll sit back and trust the hire. That's what he was brought here for, to make this hire. It wasn't the Kim Mulkey hire. It wasn't the Jay Johnson hire. It was there's going to come a time where you're going to have to hire the head coach of LSU football. Now's that time. So I guess you have to, as a fan, put your faith into Scott Woodward.
Do you think he knows right now? Scott?
I think he's like, damn, I'm keeping it tight-lipped. I don't even know.
Shea, have a great day, man.
No, I don't know if he knows. That's a good one. I don't know. I don't know anything. That's what I'm saying. This is how tight it is.
Thank you, buddy.
All right, bye, y'all.
Later, man. There's Shea Dixon checking in from Go 247. Go